Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening 2025. Okay. We'll be dealing with Jubilee chapter 3 breakdown. We'll read that chapter and break it down. There's a lot of information in it. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. Okay. If you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Okay. And for those that support the channel, that was appreciated too also. Okay. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of Hosts. Okay. This channel was created to aid and assist Hebrew Israelites who are waking up in these last days to their true identity. Okay. Shalom and welcome to the channel. And welcome to our means of advanced Bible study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. Then we'll open it up for some Q&A. And a little dialogue. Then we go into our topic, like I said, we'll be reading Jubilee chapter 3 and breaking it down. Okay. And then we'll pick a scripture and break that scripture down, and then we'll close out. With that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Read the psalm. You gonna read the psalms?
Shalom. Yes, sir. Tonight I'm gonna read Psalms 139, and this is praise to the all-knowing God. O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and my uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue. But lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thy hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into the heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee, for thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which is continuance, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee. Surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, yea, bloody men, for they speak amongst the wickedly, and thy enemies take thy name in vain. Do not, I hate them, O Lord. Excuse me. Do not, verse 21. Do not, I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee. And am I not grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them mine enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Shalom. That's Psalms 139.
Okay, got any feedback?
Yes, sir. I had a question actually in verses 15 and 16. What just to break down on that, kind of what he means by that. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. What does David mean by that in these two verses, 15 and 16?
That's Psalm 39, right?
Yes, sir. 139, sir.
139, yeah. It says, "My eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which is in a continuous were fashioned, when at when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them." That's not the same thing you read, right? 15,
15 and
you read
16.
15 and
Yes, sir.
16, right?
Yes, sir.
And my substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lower parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which is in continuous uh, were fashioned when as yet there was none of them. So to me, when it take me back in verse 16 when it says, uh, "Thy eyes did see my substance." So that's, you know, they formed in the womb. We formed in the womb in a woman's belly, and then the spirit is placed in that body. It's some, during the time of conception. So he's saying that knowing who Lord of hosts is, and Yahweh, he says, my substance was not hid from me. So his DNA. Then he says, when I was made in secret, that's in the woman's womb, and curiously wrought in the lower parts of the earth. Then 16, that eyes did see my substance. That's what he's talking about. How a baby come about when the sperm goes to the fallopian tube, then one of them make it, and then the baby start being made. He understands that Yahweh is there. He says, "Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect in thy book." So you go to Genesis, go to Daniel chapter 10, when Gabriel told Daniel that, it's a book in heaven, and we looking upon that book. Me and Daniel, me and Michael, on two can look upon that book. So when you understand that, he says, "Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect, and in thy book," right? So you say, what are you talking about? When he came to Abraham, he told Abraham, Sarah laughed when he said, "It's a kid in your womb," just like he told Adam and Eve when he came to him. He said, "It's thy seed is her seed." He already knew it was two kids in her stomach. He prophesying two kids in her stomach. But in the case of Isaac, he told her, Like, two purposes that he came in Genesis 18 was to tell Abraham about Sodom and Gomorrah, that he was gonna destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and that he was gonna have a son. And then he told him their son was going to name him Isaac. So when you understand that and read this, verse 16, that I did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in the book, in thy book, all my members were written. That's the book of life, which is in continuous were fashioned, when yet there was none of them. None of his members was even in existence yet, but he was in the book. So let's look at that right quick. Go to Genesis 18. Genesis 18. Okay. Genesis 18 says, he come to Abraham and Sarah, right? Then he says, verse 9, and they said unto him, where's Sarah, thy wife? The three angels, where's Sarah thy wife? And he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, Lord of hosts, said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was beyond them, behind him. Okay. And then it says, now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with her according to the manner of a woman, so sexually, because they was older, so they wasn't no need to have no sex because they wouldn't have no seeds. So 12, therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old and shall have pleasure and shall have pleasure, my Lord being old also. So he told her right here, you're gonna have a son, right? Then he said, according to the time of life, that's 9 months. Somebody got their mic open. Okay, he says according to the time of life. So then you go to 21, chapter 21, right? This is when he told her in 9 months he coming back. So and the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. This chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived, bore Abraham a son in his old age, and at the time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. See that? So everything he said. So you go back to the song we just read over here in 18. When he told him that, right? There wasn't no members, like David said. You saw my substance, and my members wasn't even yet. I wasn't even formed yet, and so you can see that right here. He told him he's gonna have a son. The members ain't even formed yet. They ain't even formed. And then 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken, and Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the time on which he had spoken of it. And Abraham called the name of the son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. So that's Psalm 139, 15, 16 in the handbasket. You see that?
Right, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So anybody else got any comments on that? Anything on that song, Psalms 139? Okay, we'll go to our current events. I'll play this first one, then we'll break it down.
Well, if you thought the economy was turning around, tariffs were going to go back to normal, and people were going to have their jobs safe and sound, well, you're wrong. Mass layoffs are still happening. It's actually spreading and it's only getting worse. Today, we're going to talk about it. So make sure you stick around and watch this entire video, and I'll explain exactly what is going on. But first, before I do, all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So yes, layoffs are happening all around us. We are seeing it in the tech sector. We're seeing it with retail. We're even seeing it with the United States government, but it's only spreading.
So I just got laid off from my job. Now what?
That's what most people don't know. Now what? I just lost my job. And whether you were working for a retail store, an insurance company, maybe a hospital or a clinic, or the United States government, what do I do next? The problem is, for many people, they spend months and months and months trying to find their next job. The concern, though, is most people struggle to pay their bills to just make ends meet over that time. But again, like I said, things are actually getting worse. They're not getting better, they're getting worse.
So I got laid off today. Just something I've never experienced in my 32 years of life. I have always had a job. I think I'm still in shock. And I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do next, which is a really weird but good feeling.
Interesting. It's a weird but good feeling. For some people, being laid off is what they need. Because for many Americans, they don't want to leave a job that they've had for several years. But here's what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing is certain people are getting laid off first. So senior employees or executives, these are the ones that usually have higher salaries. They get laid off first as a result of not just a restructuring, but what many companies are trying to do is lower cost, but to increase productivity. Well, how do you do that? Well, let's say you take somebody, let's say a senior executive that's making, let's say, $250,000 a year. You take them and you replace that one person, with, let's say, 3 or 4 people that do all that person's job. Okay, so maybe it's not a senior executive, but you have somebody that's a manager. You have somebody else that's again another manager. But the goal of this is to take that $250,000 salary that this one person has, take that and replace it with 3 or 4 other people that maybe make $125,000 a year. Again, it's completely different. Now you're saving $125,000, but yet you got 3 additional people on your payroll. That's what companies are doing. Here's the next one. They're actually letting go of older workers, not because they're less productive, but because some of them are getting close to retirement. So what many companies don't want to do at this day and age is they don't want to invest into somebody that is, let's say, 5 years away from retirement, because they may use all their resources and put that into you just for you to leave here in the near future. So again, that's kind of what we're seeing. But look at this as well. This article from CBS News back in April says layoffs spiked by 205% last month to the 3rd highest ever recorded, fueled by Doge mass firings. Well, according to reports, the Department of Government Efficiency here in the United States is not done laying off employees. And in fact, some experts believe Doge is going to ramp up these layoffs. We are going to see more people.
Your father knows about saving money.
Lose their jobs in the federal government here in the next few months. Keep in mind, Elon Musk just took a step back from the Department of Government Efficiency. According to multiple experts, they believe Elon Musk was actually pulling back, didn't want Doge to fire as many people simply because it was putting all the heat on him and Tesla. Job applications, some of them were in person, some online. He called back, right? He followed up, emails, phone calls, even text messages. if he had a person's number. And guess what? He had 4 people reach out. So over 300 applications, 4 employers reached out to see about him coming in for an interview. That was it. Didn't offer a job, just 4 people called back about coming in for the follow-up interview. That was it. This is why millions of Americans are struggling. This is why the layoffs are actually going to get worse. They're not get better. Keep in mind, something happened just today, okay? And that's this right here. It says China shipping loophole closed by President Trump, raising prices for U.S. consumers. What was that loophole? It's called de minimis. It was a loophole that allowed smaller purchases, right, cheaper items to come into the United States and bypass the tariffs. Well, that was closed as of today. That's a problem because now companies are having to pay the additional tariff of 145% to China. Yeah, it's going to cause many employers to lay off additional employees because they purchase so much stuff from China. The United States relies on China for a lot of our goods. And if we are not getting said products from China, guess what happens? We either find another source, which is going to be a little more expensive. And if it's a little more expensive, then we have to lay off employees to try to cut costs. Because guess what employers have done over the past 5 years? They found ways to become more efficient, use technology, use artificial intelligence to run some of their company. And as a result, they were able to kind of scale. But now they're going to lay off employees to get back to just the bare minimum. Again.
Okay, any comments on that?
Shalom. Excuse me, shalom. Brother Leonard, they so in listening to that video, just on the part where they about Elon, real quick, where he says you know, Elon didn't want them to fire as many people because it didn't look good for what's this company, for Tesla.
Right.
That to me, that's just an attest to that, like, that he works for somebody. You know what I mean? That somebody sent him there, because they also kind of mentioned that him being there for face. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Like it's like he trying to clean Elon Musk's name up.
Right, for another part of whatever they got him for.
Exactly. Is that something?
Yes, sir.
Right. Anybody else? Okay. Let's go to the next one. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but gotta keep your eye on it.
Multiple emergencies have been imposed in Israel over the last 24 hours, and the recent horror of Jerusalem was caught on cam. Take a look at this clip.
Jerusalem on fire.
Did you see that, folks? Apocalyptic-like scenes are coming out of Israel now, and a national state of emergency has been declared due to the massive wildfires that broke out near Jerusalem on Wednesday, that forced Israel to cancel its Independence Day torch lighting ceremony as well. While the cause of these fires is still unknown, a large number of people have been evacuated from the affected areas. Reports are saying this is the largest wildfire in Israel's history, and thousands of Israeli military troops have been deployed to rescue civilians. Take a look at this clip. Reduced visibility to near Chido, impacting both a military base and daily life.
Folks, something is wrong in the spiritual realm. Those who dismiss these strange weather patterns as mere coincidences must now think again. Why is it that suddenly after the ending of Holy Week on April 20th, all three places, Vatican, USA, and now Jerusalem is being shaken on a huge level? This is not a coincidence. This is a clear warning from the Lord about the upcoming chaos. Already, a lot of things has happened within the last 2 weeks, and now this one particular fire in Israel reminds of the recent fire in California. Folks, this is the reason I am more concerned that these horrific events could be seen in more places and with more intensity. And when I saw the smoke rising from the hills near Jerusalem and the sandstorms covering the skies in the south, I couldn't shake off the feeling that these aren't isolated incidents.
Okay, anybody heard anything about that? Check this out.
Shalom. Yes, sir. I think I seen a clip about him.
Okay.
Is that is this supposed to be with the what's that, the MK Ultra or the Project Bluebeam kind of stuff?
No, this is actually on fire. Jerusalem on fire, burning. Wildfires everywhere. Check this out. So they have mass evacuation.
Dry air and strong winds created the perfect conditions for an inferno that tore through the forests of the Judean hills near Jerusalem, leaving behind a trail of devastation and fear.
Yeah, you want to check that video out. It's mass evacuations in Israel. Wildfires destroy everything in Jerusalem. So, yeah, so that's going on right now as we speak. Okay. Any comments on that?
So shalom, brother Leonard. Is this part of them trying to make their end time prophecy like come to fruition?
Yeah, from my perspective, that's what I believe. They then it's like to try to curb all the animosity that people got toward them because of what's going on with Gaza. So they doing this to try to, you know what I mean, to throw that the world sentiments, the hatred that the world starting to develop toward them because of what they're seeing them doing when it comes to Gaza and the people of Gaza.
Shalom, you saying they doing this on purpose?
Oh yeah, I do. I
Whoa.
believe it.
Well, I thought the scripture not by water but by fire this time. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. They know that. They know that. It's just the same way with the Lord of Hosts and JC. They got him operating just like Yahweh, just like the Lord of Hosts operated, and nobody can see the Lord of Hosts because they got JC doing everything that he done. So it's the same right here. They making it look like fire. I mean, you gotta think about how did that happen? You gotta watch the video and then you say, how did these people allow this to happen? How did they allow a fire to get to this point? Just let it ferment. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't put nothing past them. Okay. So here we go. Some need to know information. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about right here. If you know their history, then you know how to deal with them now. So this is you're right. Everything we see right now that's going on with the tariffs, right? Look at this. You think this is something new, but this is an old playbook.
Not only will you find it.
They've been doing this. They did it before. You'll be surprised when they did it, though. Here we go.
1930 tariff and the subsequent commercial
1930. That's the Great Depression. But check it out.
War was a critical factor in the rise of Hitler in Germany. That's a
tariffs brought Hitler on the scene. Come on.
Quote from historian Charles Kinderberger. Back in the 30s, when America went into a trade war with the world, it ended up unraveling the entire global financial system. It magnified the impacts of the Great Depression exponentially. And in the chaos that followed, thousands of miles away, and
doing the same thing now.
An ocean in between.
And Yahweh is them. They got a hidden agenda.
A radical movement started to grow. It was fueled by fear and anger, triggered by massive economic pain that was felt by everyday people. And eventually, the Nazi Party rose to power. You see, when economies fracture, sometimes some truly insidious and horrific things
this is where you saw pro.
Hateful things start to take shape. That's what happened in Germany. Today, tariffs are back in style once again. So the question on my mind is history about to repeat itself? You see, the 1920s are known as the Roaring 20s for a reason. GDP growth average.
And then you got to ask yourself, is this Yahweh?
An impressive 4.2%. I mean, it was a great time to live in the US, but the numbers were hiding deeper underlying issues. Income inequality was growing, debt levels were mounting up, and crucially, farmers were making much less with prices falling, and they were a pretty critical voter base. I mean, compared to today, farmers make up around 6.5% of the US's population, but back in the 20s, they were around 20%. So during World War I, many of Europe's biggest countries could not grow their own food, and that's where the US farmers had a pretty captive market.
Exact same thing going on now.
As Europe recovered from the war, American farmers faced a pretty brutal reality. You see, prices were collapsing. Fields that once brought prosperity now could barely cover costs. And with each passing season, more family farms faced bankruptcy. The mortgage payments remained the same, but the income that they needed to make those payments just vanished. Desperate to save their way of life, farming unions mobilized. They flooded congressional offices with letters and organized protests demanding government protection from foreign competition. Their message was pretty simple. The government must safeguard local farmers against agricultural imports or watch America's heartland wither away. So during the 1928 presidential election, Herbert Hoover was...
So let's look at this. Let me read it right quick in the book of Daniel. It says, let me find it. So I'm in the book of Daniel, right? And we're going to see what Gabriel told Daniel. He says about the four beasts. He says, let me get it. It says, and it came to pass, I'm in Daniel chapter 8, verse 15. Gabriel was giving Daniel the understanding of the four beasts. He says, let me see. Okay, let me get it right. Okay, go back to chapter 7, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and he asked me the truth of all these things. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are four, like I said, ain't no five beasts. So we still dealing with the four beasts, the Romans, Japhet's children. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of earth. For the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever, even ever and ever. Then, here we go. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. Here you go. That was diverse from all the others. Exceedingly dreadful, with teeth full of iron, and its nails of brass, which devour and break in pieces and stomp the residue of the whole with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and had a mouth that spake very great things, whose looks were more stout than his fellows. I beheld, in the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. That's when Antiochus came. And we still deal with the fourth beast today. But he just told us he's diverse from the rest of them. So the Babylonian kingdom, it rose and fell. The Medes and Persians came, it rose and fell. The third beast came, the Greeks, rose and fell. But Esau, what he doing right here? As soon as the dollar then played out, all that they done with the dollar, it done played out. Here they go again. That's what they doing right now. Same thing they did in 1930. This is how they keeping the beast going, collapsing everything through the skies. That's why it's diverse. So they doing the same thing again. Same thing they did with Hitler. They brought tariffs on the scene. Then Hitler showed up. They got tariffs now. They brought Trump on the scene to break everybody. So that they continue to rule. They're not gonna rise and fall like a natural. All the other kingdoms did. All the other kingdoms rose, like they say, what goes up come back down. But Esau got a blueprint. He'll go one place and he'll rise therefore, and he come up. Then when he start coming down, he go somewhere else. So like I said before, it's not a coincidence that China is where they at, because way back in the late 80s, they sent all the countries, manufacturing companies that made America great. They sent them to China, setting up for the jump. Now we in the midst of the jump. And they're doing the same thing. Got you thinking there's some kind of war going on between America and China, but they bringing down the system that's going to benefit all of them. Bring some tyrannous diabolical dude on the scene, collapse everything, cause all kind of havoc, and they start back over again. Same beast. It won't fall. It won't fall. Most High gotta go bring it down. So we're looking at the playbook right here. It's saying, ain't Yahweh, it's them. When the natural course of things was what they done to us when they came to Africa and got us. The natural course is that eventually we're gonna rise. What Marcus Garvey came. What these Edomites do? They brought my man. I told you about that. Everybody praising him. I can't think his name. I'm always talking about this dude, but he came on the scene, and they used him to trump Marcus Garvey, knock him off. Then we got to the point where we tried them again. They brought Obama on the scene, and that's why I said now they bringing Tory on the scene, because of what they getting ready to do. They want to be in Africa, so there's no need of them to raise up some Negro or Boule Negro in America no more. Now they got to raise one up in Africa, because that's where they headed. Okay. But like I said before, we're gonna let it play out and see who knows what they're talking about. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. They're doing the same thing. This part of their playbook. Anybody got any comments? I'm gonna let some more play. Anybody got anything for us? Play it? Okay.
listening to their needs. He was trying to earn those votes. So he promised that if he won, he would put tariffs on those agricultural imports. But first, let's get on the same page on what tariffs actually are. Because tariffs are basically taxes that one country imposes on their imported goods. So the idea is that tariffs are meant to protect local industries, but sometimes the reality can paint a pretty different picture.
So where Trump get it from? Edomite told him. He a pun. They told him what to do. We did this before. The guy name was W. Du Bois. They brought W. Du Bois on the scene, and they used him to usurp Marcus Garvey. Because Marcus Garvey had ships. He had big old ships and everything for anybody that want to leave. And the Negroes wanted to leave, just like they want to leave now. But they wasn't finna let it go down like that. So they brought W. Du Bois on the scene. Black hero that they concocted, just like now. And the Negroes flocked to him. They brought Martin Luther King on the scene. They sent him to oral school to school not talk as an orator. Then brought him on the scene. They did the same thing with Obama. You got to remember what we did as Israelites back in the day. Lord of Hosts came to Egypt, shut Egypt down with 10 plagues, but then these Negroes say they want a man over them. When they finally got to his land, it was his land that the Most High gave him back in Genesis chapter 10 and 11. He gave him Mount Zion and that whole region, the land of Canaan. And then he came when Israel got in trouble in Egypt. When he got Michael and told him, go to Egypt and get them. That's when Michael inherited us. So Michael went there, showed out, and the whole world found out who he was, brought the Israelites back to the land of Canaan. When they got back, they want a Negro over them with a crown on his head. They don't want him. Not the same thing. Esau know that. All they got to do is bring some Negro on the scene that they build up, and 99% of the Negroes are going to flock to him. He's a pro at that. Okay?
Sure. You see, tariffs are typically paid by the importer. So let's say that the US imposes tariffs on Canadian maple syrup, for example. So if the US imposes tariffs on Canadian maple syrup, then the US company that's
mega pastors, same thing. We got brain cramps when it comes to that.
Importing that maple syrup would then have to pay the tariff back to the US government. And the cost of the tariff is usually passed along to the consumer in the form of higher prices, because the importing company from the US in this example would have to raise prices to cover the cost of the tariff that they had to pay in the first place. So the tariffs are meant to support local communities, but when the tariff is paid by the importer, it's usually the consumers of that country that bears the brunt through higher prices. So now that we're on the same page on what some of the negative impacts of tariffs are, let's get back to what President Hoover did. So while campaigning, Hoover was mainly worried about the farmers that he'd made a promise to. And in the meantime, while Americans were still enjoying the Roaring '20s, on the other side, Germany was struggling to recover from World War I. You see, the Weimar Republic, which was basically the name of the German government right after World War I, faced pretty crushing war reparations, and they borrowed heavily from American banks just to stay afloat. And this is where we start to see the cracks emerge that would impact the entire world.
So this is the exact playbook. Right. See what I'm saying? Then it was Germany. They got this diabolical person out of Germany where all the chaos is at. Now they getting one out of Africa. So people, they doing one thing over here with the right hand, and they're doing something else over here. It's all to keep the system they got in place, the beast system in place. They're not gonna let it rise and fall like all the other kingdoms did. He was raised by Abraham. He using Abraham, the laws that Abraham received and the laws that Moses received. He using them against his own, the Most High people, to continue to keep on ruling.
By the way, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me out. So in early 1928, a decade after spectacular growth,
the Fed had to step in and increase interest rates. The once booming economy had slowed down, and in August 1929, the US was in a proper recession. Hoover had won the election, but he was in a pretty brutal economic situation. But remember that he promised the farmers more protection during his election campaigns? Well, he wanted to live up to that promise. So he called Congress into a special session to work something out. I mean, we know that he would come to regret this, but at the time he was pretty optimistic. And his proposal was simple: a limited revision of tariffs on agricultural imports to raise rates and boost the sagging farm prices. He hoped that this would be enough to keep his voters happy. And look, this wasn't an unusual thing in that era. In 1922, the US had put a huge 40% tariff on all imports.
And there's some?
Are you?
Put a little more of this. It's like blowing a bugle.
Depression were huge. The tariffs didn't cause it, but they made the Great Depression exponentially worse. Now, trying to make things better, FDR started to negotiate exclusive trade deals with other countries. And in the decades that followed, the US took things in a completely different direction. America wanted to take a central role in international trade, with the World Trade Organization.
So what they doing? These are wicked ass folks that came from. They didn't come from Yahweh. They came from the slave. So this their way of saying. They say the cream always gonna come to the top. They won't allow what they do. All these what they keep doing over and over again is not allowing the cream to come to the top. Every time when they see the cream start coming to the top, then they come with this. They got a blueprint. Okay. Anybody got any comments, questions before we move on? Okay, we'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything they want to talk about before we move on? Any dialogue? Something they came across want to talk about?
Oh, shalom, brother Leonard. I seen that Elon Musk has, since he couldn't put Starlink in South Africa,
right,
that he got a base in Uganda. So when I was looking at like doing more research on Torre and just thinking about US attacks,
right.
that could be another leg in what they trying to do, for surveillance wise.
Exactly. You know what's going on over there in Uganda, right? That water just broke out over there. We just happened to break out over there.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
that's them. That's them. That's how they operate. It ain't Yahweh. It's these nut buckets. That's how they rule it. He says he told Esau when Esau begged for a blessing. He said, "You're gonna live in the fat places of the earth, but you're gonna live there by the sword." That's what he's doing. Killing and murder and pit. You have to understand when you say Edom is came together with with Esau. Esau got together with Cain's descendants. That's the fourth beast. So Cain and his descendants hate Israelites, and Esau and his descendants hate Israelites, and they came together. That's who the fourth beast is. They collaborated and came together. That's why the transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade was so horrific. That's the reason why our time over here been so horrific, because of you got a double hatred for us, and we gotta let it play out. And Pan-Africanism ain't gonna do nothing about it. Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, said He's gonna fix it. It's the time appointed for Him to fix it. And Pan-Africanism ain't got nothing to do with it. Okay. Any comments? Okay, here go another one right here. So then after I play this, then we'll deal with the Jubilee chapter 3. So this is like I said, this is old everything we looking at now, we think it's something new on the scene. It's an old playbook. That's how these people ruling. Right here. Check it out.
1954 was a year
1954. Now check it out.
Of seismic shifts in America. A moment when the nation searching over race collided with its ambition to lead the free world.
It's Tory all day long. It's Tory all day long. Check it out.
Events would forever intertwine. The Supreme Court's Brown versus Board of Education ruling, Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie's state visit, and his repatriation program for Black Americans.
So Haile Selassie, if you know who that is, they brought it. They brought this Ethiopian person from Africa to sue the Negroes here in America. And so they just doing it now with the technology they got. It's way more bigger than what they did with Haile Selassie. And to this day, you got a whole faction of Negroes believe Haile Selassie was the Messiah. Okay, that's what they head. That's what they head with Tory. He's gonna be the Messiah.
But beneath these milestones lay a hidden thread.
Check it out.
The Cold War's shadow and the Eisenhower administration's calculated efforts to mold civil rights into a weapon of diplomacy.
A weapon of diplomacy.
Today, we uncover a pivotal piece of this puzzle. President Eisenhower's amicus brief to the Supreme Court, a document that reveals how the White House quietly steered the Brown decision to serve its global agenda. To grasp the urgency of 1954, we must first confront the Cold War's ideological battleground. The United States and Soviet Union weren't just competing for military dominance, they were fighting for moral authority. Soviet propaganda seized on America's Achilles heel, Jim Crow. Newspapers like Pravda splashed headlines about segregated schools and lynchings, asking newly independent nations in Africa and Asia, is this America's democracy? The State Department grew desperate. In 1953, a confidential memo warned that segregation was handicapping our leadership abroad. U.S. diplomats cringed as African delegates faced humiliating discrimination in Washington hotels. The Global South, fresh from colonialism, watched closely. America's racial hypocrisy wasn't just a moral failure, it was a geopolitical crisis. Enter President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Publicly, he maintained a cautious neutrality on civil rights, wary of alienating Southern Democrats. Privately, his administration orchestrated a legal intervention that would tip the scales of history. In December 1952, the Justice Department, under Eisenhower's Attorney General Herbert Brownell, filed an amicus curiae, friend of the court brief in the Brown case. This 58-page document became the White House's quiet manifesto. The brief's arguments were revolutionary. It declared school segregation unconstitutional. Yes, but its most striking passages framed the issue as a national security imperative. Racial discrimination furnishes grist for the communist propaganda mills. It warned, noting that Soviet broadcasts exploited U.S. racism to diminish the prestige of our nation. The brief cited damning examples. Indonesian students refused service in D.C. Indian diplomats barred from Texas restaurants. Crucially, it argued that segregation undermined America's ability to win allies in the decolonizing world. This was no abstract legal theory. The brief's language mirrored State Department cables and CIA reports. For the first time, the executive branch had formally linked civil rights to Cold War survival, and the Supreme Court took note. On May 17, 1954, Chief Justice Earl Warren read the unanimous verdict. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. The ruling was a triumph for the NAACP's legal team, led by Thurgood Marshall. But behind the scenes, Eisenhower's amicus brief had laid the groundwork. Justice Department lawyers had even attended closed-door court sessions, emphasizing the international stakes. The timing was no accident. The decision landed just 9 days before Emperor Haile Selassie's arrival, a visit the State Department had meticulously planned.
See that? Ain't nothing new on the sun, man. That's how these folks operate.
Internal memos show officials scrambling to avoid incidents during Selassie's tour, aware that any racial snub would fuel Soviet narratives. The Brown ruling, broadcast globally via Voice of America, became America's answers to the critics. See, we are changing. Yet, the administration's motives were starkly pragmatic. As Eisenhower later confided to aides, the Supreme Court decision will set us back 15 years in the South, but for international reasons, it had to be done. Emperor Haile Selassie's May 1954 tour was a masterclass in Cold War theater.
Masterclass. This back in 1954. So what you think it is now? It was a masterclass back then.
The U.S. rolled out the red carpet, a White House state dinner, a ticker tape parade in New York, and a speech at Howard University where Selassie hailed Brown as a beacon of justice. Newspapers like the Chicago Defender showcased Black officials and diplomats as staged rebuttal to Soviet claims of American apartheid. But the pageantry masked tensions. Just weeks earlier, the Ethiopian embassy had lodged complaints after Selassie's staff faced segregation in Maryland. The State Department.
Okay, any comments on that? So this ain't nothing new. It's an old playbook because they see their world, their kingdom, everything they got going is coming down. They can see the hand of the Most High in it, but they just not gonna stand aside and let it happen. They're gonna come. Like I said, they got a blueprint. It ain't like they ain't gonna try. Okay. Right, exactly, right. Yeah, it's gonna happen. But like us, my thing is to show you that don't fall for the okie doke. Because these people ain't, like I said, when Moses came, when Enoch went up to heaven and came back, Enoch wouldn't deal with no Pan-Africanism. He ain't have no damn red hat on. And Noah, when he got on the boat, he ain't have no red hat on, wasn't no Pan-Africanism. So what the Most High doing in these last days is gonna mirror the same thing he did with those men. Come on. Any questions, comments?
Shalom, brother Leonard. When we were in captivity, like in Babylon, for instance, like Daniel and them weren't saying like let's make our own little Israel or our own little Jerusalem inside of Babylon, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a dead cattle line when you hear that, because they ain't high. And then, like I was saying before, you limited we already saw what the Lord of hosts did when he went to Egypt, what he capable of doing. So when you just limit him to that, you limit him to Pan-Africanism, that's a disgrace. Come on, man. Look what he did with the Syrian army. He killed 165,000 men. Come on. That's a disgrace.
Yes, sir. And then
God is. Ain't that something? And like I said, what's the difference in look how much propaganda they pumped into Obama, and he ain't do shit. Cause all it was hot air. They pumped him up, and it was all, like I said, it was all about neutralizing us. Okay, that's how that worked. King too, same way. Hot air. Okay, there's something. So with that being said, we go to the book of Jubilees. I'll be reading out of chapter 3. I'm gonna read it and then we'll break it down. Like I was saying before, what you have to understand is our forefathers, they wouldn't read no King James Bible. When you understand why Enoch was taken up, and he wrote books, and he told the angels, Lord of hosts, Gabriel and Raphael, and told them to come back to the earth, bring these books down to your generation. So this is what they was reading Jubilees, specifically Enoch, Jubilees. They was reading those books. Like I said, when you understand what Jubilees means, the angels are telling the story. The book of Jubilees, the angels telling you the story, and they're telling you according to the time, the way the Most High developed time, which is Jubilees, 50 years, 50-year increments, and they're telling you everything that happened. It was conveyed to Moses on Mount Sinai. Those 40 days and 40 nights that he was on Mount Sinai, he was given the history of the world from the beginning till he met the Lord of hosts on Mount Sinai. But they keeping the time clock that they got is the one that's in heaven. They dealing with Jubilees, and they dealing with the moon and all this stuff that we was dealing with before. Not the way it's working now. And the thing about it is, these angels telling the story. That's the big ass difference. So who you gonna listen to? You gonna listen to these angels, the eternal beings telling you a story, or you gonna listen to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and JC? Which one you gonna listen to? Okay. So anyway, here we go. It's Jubilee chapter 3. It says, on the 6th day of the second week, according to the word of God, that's the same we in Genesis chapter 1. Let us go down and make man in our image. These same angels right here, the 7. On the 6th day, in the second week, according to the word of the Lord, we brought Adam, all the beasts, and all the cattle, and all the birds, and everything that moves on the earth, and everything that moves in the water, according to their kind, and according to their type. The beasts on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that moves on the earth on the fourth day, and all that moves in the water on the fifth day. And Adam named them all by their respective names, as he called them, so was their name. On these 5 days, Adam saw all these, male and females, according to every kind that were on the earth, but he was alone and found no helpmeet. And the Lord said unto us, the Lord said unto us, you got to break that down. You can't read it and then keep on going past it. He says, the Lord said unto us, it is not good that man should be alone. Let us, there you go again, let us make a helpmeet for him, right? And the Lord our God caused a deep sleep to fall on him, and he slept. Check this out. And he slept, right? And he took from Adam a rib. Check it out. This is where the drama coming in at. Everybody reading over. He took from Adam a rib from among his ribs, from Adam's rib. He took a rib from Adam's rib for the woman. And this rib was the origin of the woman. See that? And this rib was the origin of the woman. And he built up the flesh in its place and built the woman. So how they equal? How they equal? 6, he awakened Adam out of his sleep, and on awakening, he rose up on the 6th day, and he brought her to him, and he knew her. So right there on the scene, when he brought the woman to Adam, Adam consummated the relationship. He went into her. The angel standing there. The angel standing there. And he consummated the relationship. Let that firmate. Right? Says, and said to her, this is now, check it out. Now, this is why he said this right here. This is now bone of my bone. Cause of the real, we just read. This is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. See that? So say, what you talking about? We know what the bone is. It's the real. But look at this. He says, this real, verse 5. This real was the origin of the woman, and he built up flesh on it. See that? And built the woman. So look what Adam said. This is now bone, the real of my bones, and the flesh of my flesh. That's the same flesh that he built up around it from Adam. Okay? And she shall be called my wife because she was taken from her husband. Not Yahweh, not Michael, or Gabriel, or Uriel, none of them. She wasn't taken from them. He says, because she was taken from her husband. She was taken from Adam. Okay, let that firmate. Okay, therefore shall a man and his wife become one, and therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, cling to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. In the first week, Adam was created, and from his rib, his wife. In the second week, God showed her to him, and for this reason, the commandments was given. So we got commandments all the way back here. Negroes hollering about Mount Sinai, right? It says, and from this reason, the commandment was given to keep in their defilement. A male should be purified in 7 days, for a female twice 7 days, 14 days. After Adam had completed 40 days, see that? Adam, remember Moses on Mount Sinai 40 days. After Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden to till it and to keep it. But his wife, we brought in on the 80th day. After this, she entered into the Garden of Eden. And for this reason, the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets. We talked about this earlier in the Psalms we read. It says, for this reason, the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets. So what's the heavenly tablets? The book of life that Michael and Gabriel looking on. Ain't no Yahweh. Michael and Gabriel looking on it, right? On the heavenly tablets in regards to her that give birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain unclean for 7 days, according to the first week of days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purification, and she shall not touch any holy thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until she completes these days which are decreed in the case of a male child. So let's look at this right quick. Verse 10 says, this after she have a kid, right? After she have a kid. And for this reason, the commandments is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her, right? To the woman that gives birth. No Israelite man can't give no birth. So this law is pertaining to the woman after she gives birth. If she bear a male, she shall remain unclean. See that? Check it out. She shall remain unclean for 7 days, according to the first week of days. And 33 days shall she remain in the blood of her purification. And she shall not, look at this, she shall not touch any holy thing. Well, the Israelite man is holy. Most High said the Israelite male is holy. He's a holy people to himself. Look at this. Let's read it. She shall not touch any holy thing. It's 80 days. Neither enter into the sanctuary until she complete these days, which are decreed in the case of a male child. So, like I said, let that friend make. So you ain't operating according to this and running up on the Most High. When he come back, you gonna be in for a rude awakening, because it ain't according to what these nut buckets gave you. So 11. But in the case of a female, she shall remain unclean 2 weeks or days, according to the first week or the 62 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be in all 80 days. And when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, for it is holier than all the earth. Besides, and every tree that is planted is holy. Right? So like I said before, he says, every tree in the garden is holy. So we know Adam holy. The male seed, we know it's holy. If all the trees holy, we know the man holy. So he just told us 80 days after she had a baby, you can't touch the man. Okay? Therefore, there was ordained regarding her who bears a male or a female child the statutes of those days, that she should touch no holy thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or the female child has been completed. This is the law of the testimony that was written down for Israel in order that they should observe it all the days. In the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work, and we instructed him to do everything that is suitable to till it. So like I said before, we keep seeing this we and us. Where's JC at? He got a son, where he at? 16. And he tilled the garden and was naked. Check it out. And did not realize it. So he's naked in front of these angels. Buck naked, and was not ashamed. He protected the garden from the birds and from the beasts and the cattle. He gathered his fruit and ate it, and put aside that which was left over for himself and for his wife. After the complications of after the completion, of exactly 7 years there, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman. See that? And the serpent said to the woman, so if you ain't know what happened, you're going to know now. Has God commanded you, saying, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And she said, God said unto us, of all the fruit of the trees of the garden we can eat. The fruit tree they can eat. But the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, that's the serpent, angelic being. God said to us, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, or you shall die. So what is the fruit? You're gonna keep going. The serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. God doeth know, check it out. God doeth know that on the day that you eat thereof, your eyes, see that? Your eyes shall be open, and ye shall know, you shall be as gods, angels, as the angels. That's what lowercase God is, angels. And you will know good and evil. So the fruit is knowing good and evil. The fruit ain't no apple. The fruit is knowing good and evil, knowledge. 20. And the woman saw the tree, which is the serpent, that it was beautiful. That's Lucifer. The most beautiful thing it is. And pleasant to the eyes. And its fruit, the knowledge, good and evil, was good for food. And she took it and ate. Now check it out. 21. First, She covered her shame. Soon as she took the fruit, she covered her shame with a fig leaf. See that? And then she gave the fruit to Adam, and he ate, and his eyes was open. See that? Ain't no apple. And his eyes was open, and he saw that he was naked. All of a sudden, they know they naked. So 22. He took the fig leaves, sewed them together, made an apron for himself, and covered his shame. God cursed the serpent and was very angry at it forever. And he was very angry with the woman. Check it out. He was very angry with the woman because she listened to the voice of the serpent and ate. See that? So that's the fruit. She listened to the voice of the serpent and ate. She listened to what he was saying. That was the fruit. And he said to her, I will vastly multiply your sorrows and your pain. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your master shall be your husband, and he will rule over you. To Adam also he said, check it out, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you not to eat. That's a serpent. Cursed be the ground for your sake. Thorns and thistles shall it produce for you, and you will eat your bread in the sweat of your face until you return to the earth from where you were taken. For earth you are. Let's check it out. For the earth you are. You are from the earth, and to the earth you will return. So let's go back and read that again, because it's like a trumpet, right? To Adam also he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you not to eat. And check it out. We're looking over this. Cursed be the ground for your sake. So the ground is cursed. When you go outside and see thorns and thistles, cursed be the ground because of the man. The man, not the woman, ain't got nothing to do with it. See that? So he says, cursed be the ground for your sake, Adam. Thorns and thistles. So when you see thorns and thistles, ain't got nothing to do with Eve, it's Adam. Shall it produce for you, and you will eat your bread in the sweat of your face until you return to the earth from where you were taken. For earth you are, earth you will return. Let that firm made. 26. And he made for them coats of skins and clothed them and sent them out of the Garden of Eden. On that day on which Adam went out from the garden, he offered a sweet odor and an offering, frankincense and incense, and a sweet spice, and spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. So let's look at this. So let's look at 27. On the day on which Adam went out from the garden, this is the day when he was kicked out the garden, booted out the garden, he offered, look at this, he offered sweet odor and offering of frankincense, incense, and a sweet spices, and the spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. So what they remind you of? So this is where JC coming in at. This is where they got him from, right here. On the day on which Adam went out from the garden, he offered sweet odor of offerings, frankincense, incense, and so these were the three wise men supposed to brought to JC. So this was right here, like I told you about the star in Joshua chapter 8, the star that was in heaven. When we talk about the star now, we talk about JC. The star was pointed toward Abraham. When Abraham was born, is when the star came across the sky. They took that star and put it on JC right here. They took the frankincense and the myrrh and all that, put it on JC. But right here, the frankincense is pointing toward Adam. On that day on which Adam went out from the garden, he offered a sweet odor, an offering, frankincense, incense, and a sweet spices and spices in the morning, like I told you about the oblations. That's what Daniel was doing when Gabriel came in, offering sweet spices. They got it from Adam, right? Not JC. And the spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. On that day was closed the mouth of all beasts and of cattle and of birds. Check it out. And of birds and whatsoever walketh and whosoever moved, so that they could no longer speak, for they had all spoken one with another, with one dialect and with one language. All flesh that was in the Garden of Eden, check it out. All flesh that was in the Garden of Eden, he sent out of the Garden of Eden. All flesh was scattered. See that? So it ain't nothing new under the sun that we scattered. We got scattered. And all the flesh was scattered according to its kind and according to its types, to the places that had been created for them. So we see the hippo, you know, and we see the giraffe, the lion, tiger, and the bear. We see them where we see them at now, but they was brought there, just like us. They see us over here, but this ain't where we came from. We were scattered, but the animals were scattered. Okay, let that ferment. Okay, so anyway, let me keep going. 30. Of all the beasts and cattle, only to Adam alone he gave the ability to cover his shame. Of all the beasts and the cattle, only Adam alone he gave the ability to cover his shame. So what are you talking about? Well, the dog, the cat, and all them, you see them, you see their private parts and everything. They can't cover their shame. They can't cover their private parts. But Adam, he gave him the ability to cover his private parts when he walking around looking like a nut bucket. So you go to the zoo, the gorilla, all them, they ain't got no clothes on. It's not a coincidence. It says, on the new moon of the 4th month, Adam and his wife went out from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelled in the land of Elder, in the land of their creation. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve, and they had no son until the first Jubilees, and after this he knew her. Now he tilled the land as he had been instructed in the Garden of Eden. Okay, that was it. Chapter 3. Any comments or questions? Did anything ring a bell?
Shalom.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Brother Leonard, one thing I know a lot of people say that like that Adam and them like didn't have the laws like that Israel had. But
right.
You when you were just reading in there, I mean the commandment that it said about the woman during childbirth, that's in Leviticus 12, I remember. So
right, exactly.
This is the beginning of it, and yes, Adam and them did have the commandments or the law, you know.
Exactly.
That's just one thing that stood up.
Right. So it's being how you rightly divide that, like I was saying, Melchizedek. They got you thinking that JC is Melchizedek, but Melchizedek is a title. He's a teacher of righteousness. So Adam was the first Melchizedek. And then it was passed on to those 10 men. When one of them died, it was passed on to the next. Then Noah was Melchizedek when he got on the flood, when he got on the boat. Then when Abraham met Melchizedek, that was Shem, a teacher of righteousness, king of righteousness. That's who Melchizedek is. So you all discombobulated if you don't understand that. So to talk to Carrie Wright right here, it says no way are they equal. We're right, we know they ain't equal, but both are loved by the Most High equally with different responsibilities. Right, but it's an order that the Most High have. Like we just read, he says Adam is going to be your master. So you say, what you talking about? Well, Adam got a master. The Lord of hosts is his master. Then the Lord of hosts got a master. So, you know, yeah, you can stick love in there if you want to, but it's an order in place. And so when you get in the pickle, you look to your Lord. You can't bypass it, or your Lord to talk to the Most High. You got to deal with your Lord, just like Adam. Adam can't jump and talk to the Most High. He got to deal with his Lord. His Lord is the Lord of hosts. It's an order that's in place. And then you got so many people that they searching out knowledge, but the knowledge comes when you line up with the order. It's just like the Shabbat. The Most High says you seek him on the Shabbat. That's when the knowledge comes, when you seeking him on the Shabbat. If you ain't keeping the Shabbat and you ain't trying to line up, then how you gonna? He said don't eat. He said don't eat unclean food. You eating unclean food? Yeah, come on, you ain't in order. The knowledge comes when you line yourself up and get in with the order. Okay, right. Anybody else got anything? It's not some kind of male chauvinist system that's in place. The Most High, he says that the law and his statutes and all that is good. Right, ain't that something? Right. So that's a when you to even understand the order that's a beautiful thing to understand the order. So yeah. So that's how that works. It ain't nothing that it ain't how to do with the Gentile. That's the Gentile way of thinking, but so we think like Hebrews. Call it thinking like a Hebrew. Okay. Somebody want to pick a scripture before we go and break it down, so we can break it down.
Shalom, brother. I got a scripture from Issachar.
Okay.
Okay, and this is about the mandrakes. And so it says, then appeared to Jacob an angel of the Lord, saying, 2 children shall Rachel bear, inasmuch as she has refused company with her husband and have chosen continency or abstinence, and had not Leah my mother paid the 2 apples for the sake of his company, she would have borne 8 sons. For this reason she bare 6. And Rachel bare the 2, for on the account of the mandrakes the Lord visited her, for he knew that for the sake of the children she wished to company with Jacob, and not for the lust of pleasure. For on the morrow also she again gave up Jacob because of the mandrakes. Therefore the Lord hearkened to Rachel, for though she desired them, she eat them not, but offered them in the house of the Lord, presenting them to the priest of the most High, who was at that time.
Okay.
So maybe it's 11 verses before that. I didn't want to read all of that, but in the story, Brother Leonard is talking about, and this is Issachar talking about Rachel giving Leah the apples and sleeping with to sleep with Jacob versus her doing it herself.
Right.
And so can you kind of, because it was my second time like reading over it the other day, and like I'm just kind of want clarity on it.
Right. So we talked about that. We talked about these mandrakes in another situation, right?
Right.
You remember that?
Yes, sir.
That was with Reuben.
Right.
And he ended up sleeping with Bilhah. defiling his daddy house, Jacob's house.
Right.
So the mandrakes back then is a blue pill today. You hear me?
Okay, yes, sir.
So ain't that disrespecting the Lord of hosts?
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
that's what he said. He just said cause he calls her to have the 2 kids rather than the woman that took the mandrakes because she refused to take the mandrakes. She left it up to the Lord of hosts. So he gave her the 2 kids where she would have, rather than having 6, she would have 8. But because she relied on the mandrakes, he gave the other 2 kids to the other woman. Read it again.
Right. So then appeared to Jacob an angel of the Lord, saying, 2 children shall Rachel bear, inasmuch as she has refused company with her husband and hath chosen continency. And if she had not, Leah my mother paid the 2 apples for the sake of his company, she would have borne 8 sons. For this reason, she bare 6, and Rachel bare 2. For on account of the mandrakes, the Lord visited her, for he knew that for the sake of the children, she wished to company with Jacob, and not for the lust of pleasure.
Right, because the blue pill and the mandrakes is tied to lust. And then he already gave her 6 kids. So she being greedy, she want more, and the way she want to get them is through the mandrakes. So the Most High said she would have had 8 of them, but the last 2, which is Joseph and Benjamin, he gave them to Rachel, put them in her womb. See that?
Right. Yes, sir.
Right. You get something? Oh yeah. And like I was saying before, if you didn't really read that, you don't read right over it, because you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Is that something?
Yeah, that's deep. Right. Yeah, that's deep.
All right. Okay. Got anything else on that before we go?
No, sir.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody in the morning for our morning Shabbat class. Shalom. I'm still gonna give with you on that, AJ, about that what we talked about. I still haven't found it yet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.